I thought I'm writing something for the parish magazine for July in 2025, and I thought I'd share a few thoughts with you. And so I'm going to start with a little bit of not a puzzle, but a test for you, really. Who wrote the following words? The law is the true embodiment of everything that's excellent. It has no kind of fault or flaw, and I, my lords, embody the law. I'll give you a sort of clue, really. I'll give it you in the form of a refrain which comes. So I'll read the last line again. And I, my lords, embody the law. And here's the clue and the chorus which follows, which is exasperating for a highly susceptible chancellor. Well done if you've got W.S. Gilbert, who wrote the words set to music by Sir Arthur Sullivan in the 1882 operetta Iolanthe. But susceptibility is in our nature, and we can't escape it, but susceptible to what? In the case of Gilbert's aged Lord Chancellor, his susceptibility was to a particular young lady. But, as is the case with most GNS operators, true love prevails. And so the youngsters Phyllis and Strephon rejoice at the end of the show together. So the Lord Chancellor doesn't get his way there, but it all ends happily, as most GNSs do. However, this is theatre, and in real life, there's not a romantic playwright controlling the script. In Matthew 19:16-22, Jesus was asked by a rich young ruler from the ruling classes, a bit like ruling elites, a little bit like we have still today, and existed in Gilbert's time, and of course he was parodying them, wasn't he? As we parody them very often nowadays. So this rich young ruler from the ruling classes, he asked Yeshua, as he knew him, what he must do to assure himself a place in the coming kingdom. That is the world that Jesus came to announce. It's a state of being which is raising the human being back to what it was before what we nowadays call the fall, when our state of nirvana, our state of blessed, blissful existence changed and we became human and mortal. So this coming kingdom Jesus was announcing, this young man said, how do I get into this kingdom? And then he went on, he scrupulously kept all the laws and rules of the old covenants. So what else did he need to do? He, in a way, was very much like the Lord Chancellor. He'd kept all the rules and the laws. They were so important to him that he couldn't really see that anything more was possible. What else could he do? A little like the Lord Chancellor, really, who, for various reasons, fancied young Phyllis and thought that she may return his affections, because the law was the true embodiment of everything that's excellent. And I, my lords, he said, turning to the chorus, embody the law. So the Chancellor nor the young ruler had realized that their own susceptibilities were allowed them to say, I've done everything. I'm meeting all the rules and all the regulations, all the requirements. I've done all of those things. Therefore, yes, well, I'm equal to the law. And as I make it, I'm probably above it. So it was with great a sense of loss, and he didn't really know what to make of Jesus' answer. Sell everything you've got, give it to the poor, and then come and follow me, and then you shall have the kingdom. He'd done everything. What more could he do? He'd followed the law, and he'd embodied the law so that he was equal to the law, and the law was perfect, and so he was perfect. And so, like a popular politician today, he made an error, really. We spot it, and of course, he wouldn't spot it. How easily it is, because of our susceptibilities, to slide from revering the virtues that the Chancellor and the rich young ruler saw as the highest good, to themselves as being the embodiment of those virtues. So the law was perfect, ergo, they were perfect. Therefore, there was nothing else to do. They had got the answer. They were the answers. Well, we see that in our leaders and possibly even into ourselves. I'll come to that in a second or two. But earlier mention of the susceptibilities brought to mind a profound, serious, modern susceptibility. This is the widespread belief that any human can become what they want to be and determine their own life story. There is even talk about choosing our individual lifestyles to the point of actually, incredibly, believing ourselves possessed of characteristics, attributes, cognitive capabilities impossible within the materialistic existence that we live in, constrained as it is by time and space. The late Pope Francis and Pope Benedict, who I've thought a lot of, his predecessor, and Pope Leo, repeatedly pointed to the interdependency between humanity and the material world, and that we ourselves cannot be what we want to be without affecting other people and the temporal world around us. Think of the resources wasted in meeting these, I'd say, inane requirements that to make the world in our own image. When we select the highest good as being something which is not the highest good, and I go back to Socrates and Aristotle for the first thinking in my mind of those things, but when we pick something less than the first good, we're liable then to fall into the error that the rich young ruler and our Lord Chancellor, and I'm afraid to say certain politicians and bishops today have fallen into. But back to the popes. They saw the Bible in its story form as is a library within which observational questioning, philosophical and scientific, can guide us to a theology from which we gain an understanding of a purposive and ordered creation. And then from that, we can understand a purposeful reason for our own existence. Finally, I think we have a natural susceptibility to accept leadership. And so we must use our free will to guard against any leader who acts like the GS Lord Chancellor, especially with one who believes himself the embodiment of everything that's excellent. And our leaders are not God, of course. We know that. But I'd make a point again. Just note how easily the Chancellor and the rich young ruler were able to slide from revering the virtues they saw as the highest to seeing themselves as being the embodiment of those virtues. Our leaders are not God, and nor are we. Thank you for watching. And do please, if you like the short piece, tick the like box. And also consider subscribing, because I'm told that encourages YouTube to give a little bit more prominence to this particular channel. God bless you all, and thank you once again for joining me. Thank you. Bye-bye.